Hello everyone. In this video I want to do this question here. I already did a question similar to that one in the videos, the official ones, the ones that are not live sessions, but I find that students tend to struggle with these kind of questions, so I wanted to do a second one here. Basically it's a duopoly question. We have a market with two firms. You have the demand on that market. You have the marginal cost for the first firm, you have the marginal cost for the second firm, and I ask you to calculate the quantity produced by both firm and the price at the equilibrium. In the exam, I would not usually ask you to do this here. In the exam, I will usually, or in the quiz, I will usually ask this question in one of two different ways. Maybe I will ask you to calculate the best response function. So either I'll ask you to calculate the slope or the intercept of the best response function, or I will ask you to calculate the I'll give you the best response function and I'll ask you to calculate the equilibrium. Okay, so I tend to cut these down in the exam because I tend to know that you struggle a bit with doing the whole thing together, and it's also really hard to grade because if you make an early mistake or if you don't know how to do an early step, then I can't give you any partial points, right? You're just stuck. So I don't kind of like doing it this way in the exam, but I still think we should do it once or twice together to make sure you'll understand the concept. So what we want to do, if I give you this here, the first thing we want to do would be to find the marginal revenue curve. In order to find the marginal revenue curve, we want to take the demand curve and we want to rewrite it as a function of Q1 and Q2. So we know that QD, because there's only two firms in this market, we know that QD would be Q1 plus Q2. Does that make sense for everyone? If I rewrite this, this is just written as the price or the willingness to pay is 100 minus 2Q1 minus 2Q2. Okay. Now that we have this written down here, okay, now what we can do is just find the marginal revenue. So we can take this demand curve here and take double the slope with regards to Q1. That's going to give us the marginal revenue for the first firm. And we can double the slope with regards to Q2. That's going to give us the marginal revenue for the second firm. So let's write the marginal revenues here. The marginal revenue for the first firm will just be 100. And now some students don't like when I do that. I just like to group everything that, so remember here, we will want to solve for, we'll use this to solve for the best response for the first firm. So what I like to do is put the Q1s as the last number here. So I'll just do 100 minus 2Q2. And then I have minus 2Q1, but remember to find the marginal revenue, I double the slope. And then I'll do the marginal revenue for the second firm, which is going to be basically the same idea. It's going to be 100 minus 2Q1, and then I'll double the slope with regards to Q2. Okay, so now we have our marginal revenue for the first firm, for the second firm, our marginal cost for the first firm and the second firm. You should know by this point in the class that firms maximize their profit when they choose a quantity where the marginal cost and the marginal revenue are the same. So basically the best response function for the first firm will be where MC1 is equal to MR1. And the best response function for the second firm will be where MC2 is equal to MR2. In this equation here, we'll solve for Q1. This Q1, this quantity, is the best response of firm 1 to the quantity that the second firm will produce. In this equation here, we will solve for Q2. This Q2 is the best response to the quantity that the second firm wants to produce as a function of what the first firm does. Okay, that's our problem. So now I'm just going to rewrite. On this piece of paper here, we will just do the best response for firm 1. And the best response for firm 1 was found by doing MC1 equals to MR1. And MC1 was 1Q1. It's right here. And MR1 was 100 minus 2Q2 minus 4Q1. This here. Is that good? So we do MC1 equal MR1. We just need to solve this. I'm going to send this on the left-hand side. I'm going to get 5Q1 on the left-hand side is equals to 100 minus 2Q2. I want to solve for Q1, so I'll divide by 5 on both sides. 100 divided by 5 is just going to be 20. Minus 2 divided by 5 should be 0.4. This here is our best response function for firm 1. Which quantity of units, which amount of units does firm 1 wants to produce? It wants to produce this quantity. The quantity that the first firm wants to produce will depend on the quantity that the second firm wants to produce. That's why it's a best response function. When I know Q2, I can find Q1. Okay? We can do the same thing for BR2. Okay? I'm just going to set MC2 equals to MR2. MC2 is 6Q2. And MR2 is just this thing here. Okay, I want to solve in here. This is BR2, so I want to solve for Q2 in this equation. So I'll just send this Q2 on the other side. I get 10Q2 is equals to 100 minus 2Q1. I'm going to divide by 10 on both sides. I get Q2 is equals to 10 minus 0.2 Q1. Okay, this here is the best response function for firm 2. What quantity does the second firm want to produce as a function of the quantity that the first firm produces? Now notice we have a system of 2 equations with 2 unknowns. I'm going to rewrite my 2 best response function here. We had Q1 is equals to 20 minus 0.4 Q2, and that was best response function 1. And we had Q2 is equals to 10 minus 0.2 Q1. Okay. We can, so by the way, one thing I want to say first, in the exam, often I'll ask you to calculate the intercept of the best response function for the first firm, or the slope for the best response function for the first firm, or I'll ask you to calculate the intercept of the best response function for the second firm, or the slope of the best response function for the second firm. So just be aware, right? These are the numbers you want to give me in that case. That's the intercept, that's the slope, that's the intercept, that's the slope. Okay. Now, sometimes in the exam, I will give you the best response function, and I ask you to solve for either Q1, the optimal quantity produced by the first firm, the equilibrium quantity produced by the first firm, or Q2, the equilibrium quantity produced by the second firm. In order to do this, here is where the algebra is a little bit messy. We will take, look, this is Q2 here. Q2 is equal to this whole thing. But we also have Q2 in here. So we will take this whole thing here and we will plug it in as Q2 in here. So we have that Q1 is equal to 20 minus 0.4 times Q2. But Q2 is just 10 minus 0.2 Q1. Now this is the part, try to make sure to write this down in the exam. I just took this Q2 and I replaced it by this these numbers here, right, by this equation. Now just try to be careful in the exam. This is the part where everyone makes a mistake, okay? So take your time, do this part here, 0.4 negative times this. Do that part slowly, okay? So Q1 is equal, I would go faster, but I want to do it slowly once with you just to make sure it's clear. So minus 0.4 times 10. So minus 0.4 times 10. Usually, personally, I would just have written minus 4, okay? But I want to do it the long way because a lot of students tend to forget to do one of these operations here. After that, I have minus 0.4 times minus 0.2 Q1. So I have minus times minus 0.4 times 0.2 Q1. Replacing numbers in here, I get that Q1 is equal to 20 minus 4, 0.4 times 10, plus minus minus, that's a plus, 0.08 Q1. Now that I have this, notice that my system of two equations with two unknowns became a system of one equation with one unknown. I only have Q1 as an unknown here. So I want to solve for Q1. I'm going to take this, I'm going to send it on the other side. So I have Q1 minus 0.08, that's 0.92 Q1 on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I have 20 minus 4, that's 16. If I solve for Q1, I get that Q1 is 16 divided by 0.92. I put that in my calculator, and I get the answer. This should be 17.39. Now, once you solve for one of the Q's, then it's pretty straightforward. We can just take this Q1 here, and we can put it in the best response function for the second firm, right? If I put this number in here, it should give me the quantity that the second firm wants to produce. Let's try that. Oops. This was 16 divided by 0.92. I like to keep all of my decimals, so that's why I kind of recalculated it. In the exam and whenever I verify your work, you don't need to keep all the decimals, but it is really useful in these kind of calculations to keep all of them just for the quiz, and so the program gives you the right answer, right? So I have 10 minus 0.2 times that, so I'll just do the 0.2. That should be negative because it's minus 0.2 times that, and then 10 minus that is 6.52. So Q2 is 6.52. Now, as per usual with equilibrium, it's actually really easy to verify that these two numbers are correct, right? If I take this 6.52 and I plug it in the best response function for firm 1, if I plug it in here, what should I get? I should get 17.39, right? Because this is an equilibrium. When the second firm produced this amount, the first firm is happy to produce this amount. And when the first firm produced this amount, the second firm is happy to produce this amount. So both firms are happy and they're doing the best they can given the circumstance. So I'll take this number, multiply by 0.4, it's negative that number, right? 20 minus what we had there, 17.39. Okay, so we know that we have the right answer. So this was a second example on how to solve questions for duopoly. Again, in the quiz, I will not ask you to solve this question completely from beginning to end. In the exam, I'm unlikely to do that, but I could ask you to solve for the best response function for any of the firm, find what is the slope or the intercept, right? And the other thing I could do is give you best response functions and ask you to solve for the equilibrium quantities. Okay, I hope this was useful. Thank you very much.